You love Elementor, but you've been looking around to switch to another builder and came across Bricks Builder. Now you're wondering if making the switch is worth the headache? Let me tell you all about it. Hi beautiful people, my name is Jimmy from the Webonaut. I hope you're doing good. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video isn't about which one is better. Instead, we're going to look at the objective facts, what actually changes when you switch, what the technical trades-off are, and what the transition really looks like. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to expect before making the switch, so let's roll the tape. The most important fact you need to know is that Elementor is a plugin while Bricks is a theme. When you use Elementor, you typically use it alongside a theme like Hello, Astra, or GeneratePress, and this gives you a layer of safety. If you deactivate the plugin, your theme's core styles will remain the same. With Bricks, the builder is the theme, and this means you're consolidating your design into a single system. And from a technical standpoint, this often results in a smaller DOM size, of course, when used as intended, because there isn't a constant overlap between the theme code and the plugin code. However, it also means your choice of builder and choice of themes are now the same thing. A significant difference between these two products is the way they structure their cost over time. Elementor operates strictly on a subscription model. To receive updates, security patches, and access to the full suite of pro features and widgets, you must maintain an active annual plan. This means your access to ongoing support and software improvements is tied to a recurring yearly payment. Bricks Builder, on the other hand, currently offers a hybrid approach. While they do provide annual subscription tiers, they also maintain a popular Ultimate Lifetime Deal option. This allows for one-time payments that grants you access to all features updates and technical supports for unlimited websites for life. For many professionals, choosing between a recurring annual expense and a large upfront investment is a major pivot point in their long-term business strategy. Originally, the learning curve for Bricks is steeper for users coming from a purely visual no CSS workflow because it assumes familiarity with CSS concepts and a more technical workflow. Now here is a surprising shift happening in 2026. The professional learning curve for these two tools has finally converged. If I would have made this video 6 months ago, the learning curve would have applied only if you wanted to switch to Bricks. But with the release of Elementor's editor v4, Elementor has essentially adopted the same CSS-first philosophy that Bricks was built on. In this new version, Elementor has retired many of its simplified labels in favor of standard CSS terminology like flex direction, gap, and grid templates column. This means the barrier to entry for professional web design is no longer which tool you pick, but your understanding of CSS fundamentals. Whether you stay with Elementor or switch to Bricks, you're essentially learning how to become a front-end developer. If you want to use Elementor v4's full potential, you'll have to study the same rules of the web that you would do for Bricks. Regardless of which tool you use, you need to understand the basics of these 4 main areas to build professional sites. The first one is HTML code and semantics. You must understand the basics of HTML code. At the same time, you'll have to use the HTML semantics by using purposeful tags like nav, main, and article. If you only use generic divs containers, you won't be building the essential foundation for SEO and accessibility. The second one is CSS fundamentals. It's not enough to just know the name of the properties. You need to understand how they behave, and this includes the box model, inheritance, and the cascade. Third, flexbox and CSS grids. These are your new best friends for layout. Understanding how they align elements and create responsive designs is fundamental to modern web design, and it of course allows you to build complex structure without hacking margins. Last but not least, it's class-first design. Instead of styling your elements directly, you create a class like primary button, so you can update every button on your site in one go and keep your code clean. One of the differences between the two is how they approach data and dynamic content. Elementor has added a lot of dynamic features over time, mainly through pro widget like the loop grid, and these are built to handle common scenarios quickly without asking the user to think much about queries or logic behind the scenes. Bricks took a different path. Query loops and conditional logic are core features and can be used on almost any elements, and that makes the data layer more visible and easier to shape for custom setups, but it also means you need to understand what you're doing. In short, Elementor hides most of the logic inside ready-made widgets to keep things fast, while Bricks exposes that logic so you can build more freely at the cost of a steeper learning curve. Just to be clear, Elementor's editor v4 doesn't change on how dynamic data works under the hood. It modernizes styling with classes and CSS terminology, but queries and logic are still handled through widgets like the loop grid. So the difference with Bricks isn't gone. It's still about how exposed the data layer is. This is perhaps the biggest reality check for anyone switching. Elementor has been the market leader for years, and it has an enormous ecosystem of third-party add-ons, thousands of pre-made templates, and a massive community for troubleshooting. Many popular plugins come with native Elementor widgets, whereas Bricks users often rely on native features or custom solutions. If your workflow relies on specific third-party Elementor add-ons, you need to check if those features exist natively in Bricks before you switch. Switching to a Bricks lifetime deal does not mean you'll stop spending. The real expense often lies in replacing your plugin stack. If you're moving from Elementor, your existing plugin subscription won't always be compatible. And that will force you to reinvest in Bricks-specific tools like Bricksys, BricksForge, or other plugins to have functionalities you had with your old stack. And add it all together, the cost can easily add hundreds of dollars to your migration budget. So in the end, you're investing in an entirely new ecosystem. Unfortunately, when switching from Elementor to Bricks, there is no one-click migration tool, and this is a fact that catches many people off guard. Because the code structure of Elementor and Bricks is fundamentally different, you cannot simply convert an Elementor site to Bricks. Switching to Bricks means a manual rebuild of your pages. You can copy over your text and images, but the layout and styling must be recreated from scratch. And this means switching to Bricks should be treated as a new build decision rather than a casual experiment on an existing site. And so, what should you do? Well, stay with Elementor if you need to build sites very quickly using their massive templates library. You rely on a vast ecosystem of third-party plugins, and you want to explore their new CSS-first v4 editor in a familiar environment. You should consider Bricks if you want a builder that was designed as a class-first theme from day one. You want to consolidate your theme and builder, and you want to take advantage of the lifetime deal to avoid recurring costs. What's important to understand is that Elementor is now moving toward principles that Bricks was designed around from the beginning, like class-based styling and CSS native terminology, and that's a very good move forward. So the decision to switch builders is one of the biggest moves you can make for your business or your personal projects. It takes time, money, and a willingness to learn, and I hope these facts have helped you decide which path is right for you. If you find this breakdown helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content. I would really appreciate if you could take the time to fill in my survey about trust in the WordPress plugin ecosystem. It takes about 10 minutes, links in the description. Last but not least, you're of course more than welcome to join my community, The Space. We speak WordPress, page builders, and more. It'd be a pleasure to see you there. Thanks for watching, guys. And as usual, until the next time, stay sexy, keep spreading love, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.